Marshals, Season 1 Episode 1 Synopsis and Analysis Yellowstone, NCIS. Marshall's first episode opens in the midst of a combat zone. Kayce Dutton picks up the ringing phone off the floor and asks Monica where she is. Kayce is startled out of his sleep when a bomb goes off. Kayce is currently surrounded by breathtaking surroundings on the Yellowstone ranch. Fans of Yellowstone may recall that Kayce currently resides on a small plot of property in East Camp that is currently used as his family's ranch. The nearby Broken Rock Reservation now owns the remainder of the Yellowstone ranch. However, Kayce and his son Tate also reside here, so they are not alone. Due to Tate's ongoing grief over his mother Monica's passing, their connection is somewhat strained. When Tate departs for an impending demonstration, Kayce's friend Calvin arrives and challenges his lifestyle. Calvin doesn't understand this way of life, in contrast to Kayce, and they both served in the SEALs. Calvin explains his true purpose for being here as the two shoot together, blow up some trees, and basically talk about their different life paths. In reality, he is in charge of a U.S. Marshals task force, and their search has brought them to Yellowstone. Calvin makes an effort to highlight the benefits of his work, even inviting Kayce to move in with him. Calvin is looking for assistance in locating two fugitives who might be on Yellowstone property. However, he is not alone because Andrea, Miles, and Belle are in his group. After making brief acquaintances, the party rides off together on horseback and quickly locates the males. However, Kayce is the one who rashly pursues one of the fugitives, outwitting him, dodging gunfire the entire while, and taking advantage of the wilderness. Belle, who is a fairly skilled rider, joins Kayce here. Before joining ATF a few months ago, she was an undercover agent. Andrea, on the other hand, doesn't take any crap from anyone and joined the Marshals to exact revenge on her father. She also doesn't give a damn who she ends up with. She manipulates the jukebox to agitate the locals in order to demonstrate her argument. Kayce and the others go to a protest site in the morning after being temporarily appointed U.S. Marshals while the search is ongoing. The locals are demonstrating by holding signs that say, "No mining on stolen land." You see, the people are concerned that the proposed mine may contaminate their water source. Additionally, they think this is the main reason why friends and family members have died from cancer. This is what Tate was referring to when he said earlier in the episode that he was going to a rally. He is furious when Kayce shows him and urges him to get down as he is holding a photo of Monica. Tate avoids Kayce even though he knows there might be problems here. He goes on to remind his father that instead of waving the white flag, he ought to be supporting genuine change and paying tribute to Monica. While everything is going on, Kayce assures the officials, including Chairman Rainwater and Mo, that he is merely working part-time and not in an official capacity with the Marshals. In any case, not quite yet. Secretary Clarkson is present as well, and she is giving a lengthy speech. As soon as she begins speaking, everything gets going. Before detonating an explosive, a hooded person from the tree lean waits for the speech to start. Chairman Rainwater is quickly taken to surgery after the explosion, but the fugitive escapes. Kayce drives Tate home as everyone rushes to safety. At this point, the program becomes a typical procedural as the Marshals team searches for the bomber and gathers evidence. The serial number points to a location close to Broken Rock, and it appears to be a homemade explosive. Jim Kane, a local native from the reservation, is seen dropping off the bag in the rally tape using facial recognition. This is a strong enough lead for the group to follow, and he might be involved. When Kayce goes to the hospital to see how Rainwater is doing, he gets into a fight with a suspicious nurse and follows her into the restroom. When he approaches Kayce brandishing a knife, our hero goes all Indiana Jones on him and kills him. After collecting the man's phone, Kayce discovers a video game being utilized as a communication tool. This video shows Kane's family being detained at gunpoint. Kane was blackmailed into cooperating with the bombers, as is now evident. Knowing that blood is thicker than water, he remains silent until Kayce pledges to reunite with his family. After conducting some study, the group discovers that these radicals who are keeping Kane's family intended to murder Rainwater in an effort to bring the reservation into disrepute. In this manner, they could use the chairman as collateral damage and Kane as a patsy. This would be ideal for this anti-government, anti-globalism outfit. In order to determine where they are being held, the Marshals choose to employ a tracker that was placed within Kane's daughter's phone. This leads them to a wilderness facility. The crew is getting ready for their raid late at night, but something is wrong. The party attempts to ambush the Marshals after waiting for them for a long period. Everyone in the house is easily defeated by Kayce, Calvin, and the others, but sadly, Kane's daughter is no longer there. Kayce instantly begins questioning one of the injured group below while the tracker is still in the girl's shoe upstairs. He confesses that the girl has been brought to the neighboring lake after torturing him and threatening to inflict more suffering. The leader of this group is Owen Kilburn, a former member of the U.S. military who they initially believed to be clean but who is actually very much a part of this extremist organization. When Kayce and Calvin arrive, he holds the girl up at gunpoint. However, Kayce is an extremely skilled shooter, and he kills the man. As Kayce succeeds in getting the girl back, he exclaims in his final breath, "This stops nothing." Following this, we find out that Kilburn received a wire transfer of $250,000 from an offshore account. The bombing appears to have been carried out by mercenaries, which suggests that there may be more going on here. But for now, the group is happy with their little victory. Kayce, on the other hand, discovers that Belle has a different last name from the one provided after learning about her horseback riding prowess. Although she comes from a local horse breeding family, the team refers to her as Skinner. Kayce consents to keep quiet because Belle wants the team to be unaware of this. Calvin then delivers Kayce a motivational speech about family and the importance of what they have accomplished, and we also witness Rainwater's recovery. Kayce takes Calvin's advice to heart when he gets home and talks to Tate about their previous disagreement. He expresses regret for the strain he has been placing on his son. The ranch is the only thing Kayce has to offer Tate, which is why he is holding on to it so hard. Tate, though, isn't very interested in it. Kayce is aware that Tate must forge his own path in life. But now that Kayce is gone and Monica has killed the greatest part of him, he understands he must make an effort to fight for the life he desires. The review of the episode. Marshals is essentially NCIS meets Yellowstone, and based on this first episode, it's unclear if that's a good thing or not. What we get is a pretty weak pilot that doesn't give us much hope that the writers will be able to overcome this one subpar procedural vibe. We encounter a group of marshals that are all your typical tropes combined into a formulaic group. Andrea is our haughty, tough girl boss who won't put up with anyone's foolishness. Belle acts as a liaison between Yellowstone and the Marshals, while Miles is a more perceptive member who is along for the voyage. She is also probably Kayce's romantic interest. In addition, Calvin, the Marshals' leader and Kayce's longtime best friend, may be at odds with Kayce due to their different approaches, and we have the typical father-son problems that Kayce will face in the future. It's all extremely by the book, and the episode practically does a switch and bait halfway through, switching from the gorgeous long shots of Yellowstone and the reserve to all the typical procedural playbook traits. The proof, facial recognition, small red herrings, and a larger organization working in the background are all shown to us. There's nothing here that suggests Marshals might be a big hit or a dark horse program in this universe, and it doesn't function very well. However, since it's early in the season, perhaps this is merely rustiness. The first episode of Marshals serves as a reminder of the largest plot hole in Yellowstone. The bomb on the plane is one of the most significant unresolved issues from Yellowstone, plot flaws. In summary, in a Season 2 episode, Kayce Dutton detonates a bomb on the aircraft of the villainous Beck brothers, but nothing comes of it. Did it blow up? What took place? Should we put it out of our minds? Whoa. Additionally, the plot follows Kayce's quest to rescue his abducted son from the enemy's grasp. Thus, it's intriguing that Kayce sets off on a mission in Marshals Episode 1 that is similar to his experiences in Season 2. Kayce's mission in Marshals Episode 1 is to rescue another youngster from the grasp of evildoers, but this time it has to do with a plot against the Broken Skull Reservation. Similar to the previously mentioned Yellowstone plot, he must track down the villains and shoot one of them in order to save the child. Although there are no explosives involved, Kayce's old bomb trick is unavoidable given the nature of the assignment. It wouldn't be shocking if the Marshals illusion was deliberate on the part of the writers, considering that 1923 recycles a despised Yellowstone plot. After all, the Yellowstone franchise is no stranger to repetition, as demonstrated by the numerous instances in which significant romantic pairings have been eliminated. However, it is a dubious storytelling choice for Marshals to begin with a plot that reminds viewers of such a perplexing creative choice on Yellowstone. Fans make fun of Yellowstone's explosive mishap. The wild and absurd scenes in Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone range from bulls breaking into bars to cowboys telling their girlfriends about hurling their father's bones out the window of a speeding car. Some are purposefully absurd, while others are the result of storyline flaws that make fans laugh. One of the most obvious mistakes in the series is the bomb plot hole from Season 2, which is still infamous. Regarding the plot hole, a Redditor joked, "It should be noted, of course, that Sheridan is not solely to fault for the parallels between Marshals and Yellowstone in Episode 1. Sheridan was less involved in the series' creation than Spencer Hudnut and other scribes." In contrast to the Yellowstone escapade, which has the notorious plot hole, the first episode likewise has a reasonably tight plot. Nevertheless, whenever a kidnapping element appears in a show from this franchise, the bomb comes to mind. It will take some time for us to forget. How Marshals and Yellowstone are related. What? The Dutton story is far from finished, even if the popular Western drama Yellowstone concluded its run back in 2024. The debut of the new spin-off, Marshals, has finally given fans a taste of what lies next in the family drama of Montana's once most powerful ranchers. What is the precise relationship between Marshals and the first series? Marshals, which airs on Sundays on CBS, tells the tale of Kayce, the son of Yellowstone's John Dutton, Kevin Costner, one of the few surviving Duttons. Luke Grimes plays the same character from the main series again, revealing Kayce's fate following his tragic choice to sell his family's enormous Montana property for a meager sum in the Yellowstone finale. Fans may recall that at the conclusion of that series, Kayce offered the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch land to Thomas Rainwater, Gil Birmingham, the leader of the local Broken Rock Reservation, for slightly more than $1 an acre, which is the same amount his ancestors would have paid when they settled the land in 1883. He had carved out a small plot for himself, his wife Monica, and their son Tate to run as a private cattle ranch. The thread of Kayce's story is later picked up by Marshals. The program seems to take place in the present, indicating that more than a year has passed since the Yellowstone conclusion, even though the precise timeline is not covered in the series opener. Former Navy SEAL Kayce returns to his soldierly ways in the new series by joining a group of U.S. Marshals tasked with solving local crimes. Rainwater and his right-hand man, M.O. brings plenty, are drawn to the Broken Rock Reservation for what appear to be recurrent duties in the first case of the season. In the meantime, Kayce is also coping with his teenage son, Tate, Brecken Merrill, who is grieving over his mother's passing. Between Yellowstone's conclusion and the Marshals' premiere, Monica, Kayce Bill. Kayce Dutton has moved to another property, leaving behind the family ranch and all of its belongings. Even after relinquishing the family acreage to the fictional Broken Rock Indian Reservation, John Dutton, the youngest son of Patriarch Rockwell, hasn't deviated too far from the familial road, as we see in the first episode of Marshals, the new Yellowstone spin-off/sequel/extension. If it were constructed with a lot of bur oak, his dilapidated Montana ranch would still be practically a mansion. It's also important to note that the show's purported $52 million budget is evident. Explosives, horseback riding, and the scenery are all breathtaking.